After years of my dad enabling his entitled wife's stepmom toxic behavior, I finally went no contact when she attacked my kid over a wedding dispute. I'm a 35-year-old father of two, and I've spent the better part of my adult life trying to maintain a relationship with my father, despite the challenges brought on by his marriage to my stepmother. She's been a constant source of conflict for as long as I can remember. Entitled, manipulative, and self-centered, she has a knack for turning every family gathering into a drama-filled ordeal. My father, however, refuses to see her for what she is. He's always been quick to excuse her behavior, labeling it as strong-willed or passionate, when in reality, it's just toxic. Things came to a head earlier this year when my stepmother, true to form, decided that my eldest child's involvement in an upcoming family wedding was somehow a personal affront to her. The wedding in question was for my cousin, who had asked my daughter to be a flower girl. My stepmother was livid that her own niece wasn't given the role. This wasn't just about jealousy. It became an all-out vendetta. It started with passive-aggressive comments. At a family dinner, she loudly remarked, "I guess some people think they're better than others," always putting their kids on a pedestal. I ignored it at first, thinking it wasn't worth the drama. But the next few weeks were filled with more digs, from insinuations that my daughter was too spoiled to deserve the role, to openly questioning whether she even had the manners for a formal event. It was hurtful, and I could see the confusion on my daughter's face whenever she overheard these comments. I confronted my father privately about it. "Dad, you need to talk to her. This isn't just petty. It's starting to affect my kid." He sighed, the way he always does when he doesn't want to deal with something. "You know how she is? She doesn't mean anything by it. Just let it go. Let it go." That was his solution to everything when it came to her. But this time, I couldn't. Not when my child was involved. Things escalated when my stepmother started contacting my cousin, trying to pressure her into changing the wedding plans. My cousin called me one evening, clearly upset. She's been calling me every day, saying it's only fair to let her niece be the flower girl instead. I told her no, but she won't stop. I was furious. This wasn't just a disagreement. It was blatant interference. I called my stepmother directly. "You need to stop this right now. It's not your wedding, and you have no right to dictate anything about it." She didn't even try to deny it. Instead, she doubled down. "I'm just trying to make sure things are fair. Your daughter isn't the only child in this family, you know? She's not the only child, but she's the one the bride chose. This has nothing to do with you." Her response? "Well, maybe she'll change her mind when she realizes how selfish this all looks." The next incident pushed me over the edge. My daughter was trying on her dress for the wedding, excited and happy, when my stepmother showed up unexpectedly at our house. She claimed she was there to drop something off, but it was clear she had another agenda. She took one look at my daughter in her dress and sneered. "Don't get too comfortable, sweetheart. Plans can change." My daughter ran to her room, confused and hurt. That was it. I told my stepmother to leave and made it clear she was no longer welcome in my home. My father called later that night, angry that I disrespected his wife. Disrespected her? "Dad, she just traumatized my kid. How can you defend that? She's under a lot of stress," he said weakly. "You should try to be more understanding." Understanding? You want me to be understanding while she bullies my child? I'm done, Dad. If you can't stand up for your grandkids, I don't see the point in trying to maintain this relationship. That was the beginning of my decision to go no contact. But the final straw came at the wedding itself. My cousin had decided not to uninvite my stepmother, hoping to avoid more drama. It was a mistake. During the reception, my stepmother cornered my daughter near the cake table and accused her of stealing the spotlight. My daughter, who had no idea what she was talking about, started crying. When I found out what had happened, I confronted her in front of everyone. "How dare you speak to her like that? You're nothing but a bully, and I won't let you hurt my family anymore." She tried to play the victim, as always. I was just trying to teach her some humility. "You're the one making a scene?" "No, you made the scene the moment you decided to target a child. You're done. Don't ever come near my family again." But she wasn't done. Over the next few weeks, she tried to turn my father against me completely, spinning tales about how I'd humiliated her and disrespected their marriage. My father, predictably, took her side. He called to tell me I was being too harsh and that I needed to apologize. "I'm not apologizing for protecting my kid," I told him firmly. "If you can't see that, then maybe you're part of the problem." After the wedding, I made it clear to my father and stepmother that I was done. My kids and I deserve peace, and if that meant cutting ties with toxic family members, so be it. But it seemed my stepmother couldn't let go of the grudge. A few weeks later, my wife received a call from my father. Apparently, my stepmother had been telling anyone who would listen that my daughter's behavior at the wedding had been embarrassing and disrespectful. She claimed my daughter had intentionally ignored her during the event and refused to speak to her. It was a blatant lie. My daughter had been too scared to go near her. But my father believed her, as usual, and now he wanted me to force my daughter to apologize. "I can't believe you're even asking me this," I told him. "She's a child, and she didn't do anything wrong. If anything, it's your wife who owes an apology for everything." "She's your stepmother," he said. "You need to show some respect." "Respect is earned, Dad," I shot back. "And she's done nothing to earn it. In fact, she's done the opposite." A few days later, my father showed up at my house unannounced. He had my stepmother with him, and I could tell from the moment I opened the door that this wasn't going to be a pleasant visit. "We need to talk," he said, pushing past me into the living room. My wife was sitting on the couch with the kids, and as soon as she saw my stepmother, she gathered the kids and took them upstairs. She knew the drill by now. "What's this about?" I asked, already exhausted by the confrontation. My stepmother wasted no time. "You've turned this family against me. You've poisoned your father's mind, and now your daughter is following your example. This can't go on." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the audacity was unbelievable. "You're the one who's caused all this, not me. You've been manipulative and cruel for years, and I'm done pretending it's okay." My father looked uncomfortable, but he didn't say anything. He just stood there, letting her continue. "If you don't fix this," she said, pointing a finger at me, "I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are." I raised an eyebrow. "Is that a threat?" "Take it however you want," she snapped. "But don't think I won't do it." That was the last straw. I told them both to leave and made it clear that I didn't want them coming back. My father tried to protest, saying I was overreacting, but I was firm. "If you want to be part of my life, you need to stand up to her. Until then, we're done." They left, but the damage was done. My kids were shaken, and my wife was furious. "This isn't fair to you or the kids," she said. "You shouldn't have to deal with this." She was right, of course. And that's when I decided to go completely no contact. No more phone calls, no more visits, no more toxic drama. I blocked their numbers and told extended family members not to share my contact information with them. I thought that would be the end of it, but my stepmother wasn't done. Over the next few months, I started hearing from other family members about the things she was saying. She claimed I was ungrateful, disrespectful, and that I'd abandoned my father in his time of need. She even tried to turn my siblings against me, though thankfully, most of them saw through her lies. But then she went too far. My wife's cousin works in family law, and one day she called us with some alarming news. "Your stepmother has been asking about filing for grandparents' rights," she said. "I don't know if she's serious, but you should be prepared." I was stunned. Grandparents' rights? She wanted legal access to my kids after everything she'd done? It was absurd, but it was also infuriating. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. The idea of my stepmother even thinking she had a legal claim to my children made my blood boil. My wife and I immediately sat down to formulate a plan. With her cousin's legal advice, I began gathering everything I needed to protect my family. This wasn't just about the threat of legal action. It was about showing my stepmother, once and for all, that her manipulative games wouldn't work on me. The first step was to consult a family lawyer. He assured me that grandparents' rights weren't automatic, especially in cases where there was a history of conflict or toxicity. But just in case, he said, document everything. Every incident, every confrontation, every abusive text or call. The more evidence we have, the better. Fortunately, my wife had been keeping a detailed record for years. Every nasty comment, every overstepped boundary. It was all written down along with dates and times. We also had text messages and voicemails where my stepmother had berated me or made threats. It was a gold mine of evidence. Meanwhile, my stepmother's smear campaign against me continued. Family members would call to tell me what she'd said, and while most of them didn't believe her, a few were starting to buy into her lies. "She's telling people you've brainwashed your kids against her," one cousin said, "and that your wife is controlling you." It was almost laughable, but it was also frustrating. I decided it was time to take control of the narrative. I reached out to my siblings and extended family to explain the situation. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I told them exactly what had happened at the wedding, how my stepmother had treated my daughter, and the lengths she was going to in order to maintain control. Most of them were horrified. "I had no idea it was this bad," one sibling admitted. "She's always been a little intense, but this is a whole new level." The breaking point came a few weeks later, when my father showed up at my house unannounced again. This time he was alone. "I need to talk to you," he said, looking more tired than I'd ever seen him. I let him in, but I didn't offer him a seat. "What do you want?" I asked, crossing my arms. "She's gone too far," he said, his voice shaky. I didn't know about the grandparents' rights thing until after she started talking to lawyers. "I don't agree with it." "Then why didn't you stop her?" I shot back. "You've been enabling her for years." This is the result. He didn't have an answer. Instead, he started making excuses about how difficult she was, how he just wanted to keep the peace, how he never meant for things to get so bad. I wasn't interested. "You chose her over me," I said, over and over again, "and now you expect me to fix it?" "I'm done, Dad." My father left without another word, and I thought that might finally be the end of it. But then my stepmother made her biggest mistake yet. She filed a frivolous legal claim, accusing me of alienating my kids from their grandparents. It was baseless, of course, but it forced me to respond. I showed up to the first court hearing with my lawyer, armed with every piece of evidence we'd gathered. My stepmother looked smug as she sat on the other side of the room, but her confidence quickly faded as my lawyer presented our case. We had text messages where she'd insulted me and my wife, voicemails where she'd threatened to make us pay, and witness statements from family members who had seen her behavior firsthand. The judge was not impressed. "This case appears to be nothing more than an attempt to harass the parents," he said. "There is no legal basis for granting grandparents' rights in this situation." Case dismissed. But I wasn't done. My lawyer filed a countersuit for harassment and defamation. We requested a restraining order to prevent her from contacting me or my family again, and we won. My stepmother was furious, but there was nothing she could do. The law was on my side. As satisfying as it was to win the harassment case and secure the restraining order, the saga wasn't over. I couldn't shake the memory of my stepmother grabbing my daughter's arm at the wedding, leaving her shaken and in tears. My wife had been adamant that we press charges for child abuse, and after consulting with our lawyer, I agreed. It wasn't just about justice for my daughter. It was about ensuring my stepmother couldn't harm anyone else's kids in the future. The process began with filing a formal police report. I included a detailed account of the incident, along with photos of the bruises on my daughter's arm that we had taken immediately after the wedding. We also provided statements from witnesses who had seen the altercation, including the wedding planner and a few horrified guests. The case moved slowly, as legal cases often do, but things took a dramatic turn when my father unexpectedly reached out. He had heard about the charges against my stepmother and wanted to meet. "She did hit her, didn't she?" he asked, his voice heavy with guilt. "Yes," I said, refusing to sugarcoat it. "You were there. You saw how scared she was." My father was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "I want to testify. I've been making excuses for her for too long. It's time I did the right thing." At the trial, my stepmother was smug as ever. She denied everything, calling me a liar and accusing my daughter of exaggerating. But her confidence wavered when my father took the stand. He looked directly at the judge and said, "I saw it happen." She grabbed her arm so hard it left bruises. I should have stopped her, but I didn't. And for that, I'm sorry. His testimony was the turning point. Combined with the photographic evidence and witness statements, it left no doubt about her guilt. The judge ruled in our favor, sentencing her to mandatory anger management classes and community service. She was also ordered to pay a fine and was barred from any contact with my children under penalty of law. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of peace. My father's testimony had been a small step toward repairing our fractured relationship, though I knew we'd never be as close as we once were. As for my stepmother, her reputation in the family was irreparably damaged. Relatives who had once believed her lies now saw her for what she truly was, an entitled, manipulative bully. In the months that followed, life returned to normal. My wife and I focused on raising our kids in a loving, drama-free environment, and the peace was worth every ounce of effort it took to get there. My father, to his credit, made an effort to rebuild our relationship, though I kept him at arm's length for a long time. Trust, once broken, doesn't come back easily. If there's one thing this experience taught me, it's the importance of standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. My kids deserved better than the chaos my stepmother brought into our lives, and I'm proud I had the strength to protect them.